many calendars we have access to now. Like a calendar is a ridiculously useful tool for any given society to have. Lets you keep track of all sorts of important things, like birthdays and eclipses and your many long years plotting vengeance in the Chateau d'If. But now that we've had all this cross-cultural contact, everyone's been comparing notes, and we've got tons of calendars rattling around, and layers of significance stacked on every day of the year. For instance, back in the tail end of January, you might have heard we were going into the Year of the Dragon, and thought, like any sensible person, holy shit, that's the coolest thing I've ever heard. This is according to the calendar of the Chinese Zodiac, a 12-year cycle where every year is associated with an animal. Among other things, the year you're born in has a zodiac animal associated and a whole suite of extra meanings attached. Now, as a card-carrying astrology disliker, it may come as a surprise that I'm actually very fond of the idea of assigning meaning and context to specific dates and times. Especially when I was a kid, I got a huge kick out of learning new and exciting stuff about my birthday, like what semi-precious stone it meant I was associated with, or what classical element I had an affinity to. But by far my favorite was when I first heard the story we're going to talk about today. See, there's a pretty widespread folktale explaining why the animals of the Chinese zodiac are in the order that they're in, and therefore why specific years have specific animals associated with them. And that's when I learned that I'm a year of the rat kid. You try telling a kindergartner that their magical, super cool zodiac animal is a rat and see what face they make. Some people have tigers or dragons, and I got a rat! This displeased my baby sense of aesthetics. Not only was my animal the smallest of the bunch, it was categorically the lamest. Didn't even have good heel qualities like the snake. But my ears were perked when I was informed that actually the rat is the very first animal in the zodiac cycle, because the animals all had a great race, and the rat won. That brightened me up very quickly. Maybe it was okay being a year of the rat kid, if it meant being a born winner. This is around the time I realized that because of the way school works, almost everyone else in my kindergarten classroom was also a year of the rat kid, so my bragging rights for that dried up pretty quickly. But anyway, let's talk about the Great Race. Now, as an incredibly widespread folktale, the Great Race does not have a singular source that I can just pull off the shelf and summarize as a definitive version. The ordering of the animals is always the same, obviously, but there are a lot of different variations on the exact details of the story, so today we're going to talk about one of them with the understanding that there are a ton of them and we're all going to be cool about it, okay? Alright, now our story begins, as so many do, with a decree from the Jade Emperor. See, he's decided he wants some new heavenly spirits around to guard the years of the calendar, and the earlier the prospective hires show up, the better their rank will be. News of this impromptu race spreads, and a multitude of animals start making their way to the Jade Emperor's heavenly palace. But this isn't just a simple overland sprint. The way is barred by a swift river, probably because all the mountains were busy making Journey to the West more complicated, so the animals need to find a way to ford the rushing waters. The rat and the cat are by far the worst swimmers of the bunch, and they know it, so the night before the race they put their heads together and come up with a scheme to hitch a ride with one of the other animals. The rat promises to wake the cat first thing in the morning, and they bunker down for a good night's sleep. But either because it slipped the rat's mind, or because the rat didn't want to deal with the competition, the rat slips away in the morning with the cat napping peacefully and none the wiser. Personally, I feel like the rat is entirely blameless in this situation. Cat should have set an alarm. The race begins and the animals plunge into the water. First on the ticket is the ox, who's sturdy enough to just kind of brute force it. He pushes his way through and makes his way to the other side, but it turns out the ox had a hitchhiker. The noble and extremely charismatic rat was hanging out just behind his ear, and when the ox makes landfall on the other side of the river, the rat leaps off and sprints to the finish line, taking home the gold with the ox in a comfortable second place. Bringing up third is the tiger, who had a very unpleasant time fighting the current, but was just badass enough to make it to the other side through sheer strength alone. And hot on the tiger's heels is the rabbit, who was making good time hopping from rock to rock, but had a bit of a spill and barely survived by clinging to a log until it reached the other shore. In inexplicable fifth place is the divine dragon, who can fly, so what's his excuse? It's actually pretty good. He got delayed because he was granting life-giving rain to the people of Earth who needed it, and then at the last minute he got held up again because he happened to see this rabbit drowning and gave it a little bit of a rescue. Acts of do-gooding are as good a reason as any to turn up late, and the dragon gets fifth place. This is around the time the horse makes it through the water, but just before he can reach the shore, he has a moment of clarity and realizes he didn't somehow acquire a fashionable new ankle bracelet and instead has a snake on his leg. And this freaks him out so much that the snake flies merrily into sixth place and the horse has to be happy with seventh. Things get a smidge complicated with the next few runners. Apparently, the goat, the monkey, and the rooster had some sort of power of friendship moment and decided to work together, finding and steering a raft across the river and not betraying each other even a little bit. The Jade Emperor is pleasantly surprised and gives the goat 8th place, the monkey 9th, and the rooster 10th. Yeah, that's right, rooster. That's what teamwork gets you. 11th place is taken by the dog, who, despite being a dang good swimmer, is also a dog who got turned loose in a water park, so he ran a little late. And finally, bringing up the rear is the boar, who made it a self-care day, eating a big breakfast, having a nice nap, and really just taking the day at his own pace. And you know what? It worked! Take that, grind set. With the menagerie assembled and the ordering solidly established, the 12 Zodiac animals are placed in their permanent position, and the rat gets to enjoy that sweet gold place victory forever. Which I'm sure was tempered only slightly by the cat's vow of eternal blood feud vengeance for being sabotaged into sleeping through the whole race, incidentally providing a handy explanation for why there is no cat in the Chinese Zodiac, and further why cats of all stripes have such a fondness for disemboweling their little furry former friends. Which sounds like sore loser behavior to me. Or maybe the cat chases the rat because they're just so used to the view from last place. Oh, I don't know, who said that? Well, the years start coming and they don't stop coming. Fed to the rules and I hit the ground running. Didn't make sense not to live for fun. Your brain gets smart but your head gets dumb. So much to do, so much to see, so what's wrong with taking the back streets? You'll never know if you don't go. You'll never shine if you don't